Hey, welcome to another video. I'm gonna go through as many of the new features that I can remember. They're all over the place in the app. So the first one is the template manager. Say you want to keep track of something, or you want to ins- uh, make a thing that you can recall anytime you need to. For example, this demo audio out, um, you can apply this to the current preset and it will produce um, the result that you want. Let's do another example. So for example, you may have like an attenuverter with 4 channels, maybe an Augustus loop in there too, and a chaos algorithm. And let's say you want to make a template out of that. You can go here, you can say plus, and then select your attenuverter, Augustus loop, and chaos, and create a template. You can call it whatever you like. Let's see, what would a good name for this be? Wrote in chaos. Something like that, and then create the template. And then you've got a roped in chaos. It shows you what template items are in there. It will copy all of the connections and parameters and everything into this, and then you can just apply it to the disting. You can tag them, you can delete them. Let's say we want to delete it. Yeah, basically that kind of thing. So that's templates. Fairly new. The other thing that you can do, similar to templates, and it uses some of the template technology in the background, is let's say you want to take chaos, and I'm holding the shift key and clicking on these. You can select multiple, hit command or meta or control C and then V. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I have a bug. I'll fix it later. Um, Augustus loop requires a... Yeah. Anyway, well, I'll just do it with chaos. So control C, sorry, shift, control C, control V, and it will duplicate that chaos. You can control V it as many times as you want and duplicate chaos. You can do this with other things as well. So if you have something that you've set up and you want to make duplicates of it and make small tweaks to them, that's one way to do it. Okay, the next one is the routing page. The routing page has a new bus lanes section. It's similar to signal flow, which is the original visualizer that Oz put together. But you also have the canvas, which can get quite out of hand very quickly. But there's also bus lanes, which this may not be the greatest example. We can get rid of a couple of these chaos and then say chaos, you want to modify some of the things in Augustus loop, for example. Maybe. Is there any interesting parameters there? Not really. What can I do instead? Let's do this. Okay, so let's say you want to send some modulation from external through a 4-channel attenuverter into Burl, which is a community plugin. We'll just call it that for now. And there's lots of parameters here that can be changed. Filter CV, oscillator 1 and 2, and a few others, resonance, let's say. So we have our attenuverter here. The inputs we'll just assign. So in order to do this, we can disconnect them by clicking here, and that disconnects everything. Then you can go over to the plus on the input, for example, and say I want that to be input 1, this one to be input 2, this one to be input 3, this one to be input 4. And you can see that the outputs are automatically a replacement of the actual inputs. So that's fine. And then you can go over here and say, okay, I want 1 to be oscillator CV input, 2 to be oscillator CV 2 input, filter CV, and resonance CV. And I think you get the idea. It becomes quite easy to manipulate which buses are being used for what signals, and that's the basis of it. If you can rearrange things, so like if I drag this above the attenuverter or drag the attenuverter below, you can see now Burl is taking its inputs from these, but if they were disconnected, it would circle them in red, so you would be able to see which ones are disconnected. And that's basically it. You can disconnect as many inputs as you want, for example here. So we've got the low pass output going to output 1 for this now. And that's how this works. You just basically float over. You can change inputs and outputs. Here's a disconnected one. You can double click on a, so for example, you can double click on some of these, maybe not that one. Mostly on the outputs. So how would I do that here? Yeah, anyway, some of them, if they're a plus like this, you can double click them to make them a replace. So it's either add or replace, and you just double click them to change the mode. Yeah, and so that's the bus lanes routing. Reset. The next feature that I've added in a number of different places that probably nobody has noticed yet is that there are controllers up in this top panel where you have quick access to bypass. So if you've created algorithms that are bypassed by default, you can unbypass them here, regardless of where the bypass functionality is. And I've also added controllers in this thing written in Lua where you can just basically override some of the default functionality so that you can add visualizations for various parameters. And so, for example, you can fiddle around with this and get, a modulation shape that you like from the LFO and be able to visualize it here without having to go to the disting or see the disting screen. Mixer has various channels, and you can set the pan and send. Basically anything that's really kind of complicated. So for instance here you can see it will visualize the gains on each of the channels, for example. And pan shows pan side to side on the visualizer. Yeah, that kind of thing. The attenuverter has scale and offset kind of visualizations, just so you can kind of see what it would be doing to the input signal. Octaves just basically jumps around in 1 volt intervals, semitones, for example. Not that this is much different than using the sliders themselves, but I just find that having a few visualizations in a few places really help. Quadraphonic Mixer, I think, had some interesting stuff. Let's see. So yeah, it shows the outputs, and channels can be positioned in space using a 2D grid. Polar, I'm not sure. I don't think it has a visualization. So yeah, there's a bunch of them hidden around inside the editors. So just look for this puzzle piece and click on it and fiddle around with the visualizations. Cut. Reset. The next thing is a contribution and collaboration with one of our fine members. The sample editor. So you can actually go in, so for example this one, right. I'll just open a local folder. Hopefully we can find some. I have some on my desktop somewhere. Let's see. Actually, they might be in here under reason pickups and stuff. I think maybe not. Where did those hide? I think they are in here. Maybe I'll just have another look. There we go. I think here we go. Decent sampler. So for example, let's say we want to take this Soviet PIF synth and put it into the Disting NT. Well, we can do that by hitting import samples, and then in the decent sampler section we could say, okay, I want to use this DS preset as the starting place for a preset on the NT. We can say open. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this. I'm just going to go automatic here and import it. And you get this sort of complicated looking thing, but what's interesting about this is you can play them on the keyboard here. It'll scale the wave files properly, and you can set round robins and various other things over here, and loop points and various other things, save as, and you can also upload it directly to the NT through this button here. I would recommend that you don't do this with large samples. This one would probably be okay, but it uses sysex and it can take a long time. I would recommend saving it to a directory and then copying that directory directly to your SD card while it's mounted to your computer. But yeah, there's lots of functionality in here, probably more than you need, and of course I take feature requests. Let me see here. Yeah. I think that's it for now. If I'm maybe drawing a blank. No, let's look for more. Cut. Oh, yeah. Reset. I've added some support for the NTX 8CV expander, which you can find under this expanders menu, and I should connect it. Let me see if I can find a cable that's not being used. Here we go. Oh, I already have a cable attached to it, so that might help. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. Let's just plug it in. So now the USB is connected directly to the NTX8CV, and you can see that it's found the MIDI input and output, so you can hit the connect button. Oh, lovely. It wasn't doing that before. Oh, I remember why. Hold on. There we go. Sorry, I have to be more careful with my scaling. Anyway, so you can set your USB settings if you want to enable USB audio channels. You can do that here. You can also enable USB host, and when you make changes, this little indicator up here will light, and it will go out when it's absolutely sure that that setting has been sent. So if you ever wonder if this is sort of empty-ish, that's good. You can also enable and disable ES5. You can change the thing to 8x8 CV, or 1x8 32-bit audio, or 2x8 16-bit audio if you have two NTX 8CVs daisy chained. And changes to this one require a reboot, which you can do at the bottom here. And this section at the very bottom allows you to turn on the NT audio channels that get sent to the NTX8CV. So there's NTX8CV support in the expanders menu. And that's it. All right. Go and enjoy your NT, and hopefully NT Helper gives you some assistance in that. Go make music. All right.